Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Welcome back, guys, to the Women's Fitness Academy podcast. I am your host, Elin. I'm a binge and body image coach and also an educator for Women's Fitness Academy Australia. Super excited to be here today with a very, very special guest that I just met here in Bali. And the first time, like, if you guys are watching the video, you're gonna see, but the first time I met you, I was just like, this woman has just like so much charisma, so much like power, and just looks like...
And I felt the same about you.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was like energy bursts going together.
And I was just like, I need to like interview this person. Like, I don't even know what she does. Like, I need to have her on the podcast because she's just like, she's just like someone who just looks, just had so much like, just charisma, just like everything coming out of you. Like, I love it. So, my friend here, her name is Jordan. She's a sexual empowerment coach.
I
Is that
am.
right?
I am.
And like, what the hell?
What is that?
What the hell is that? Like, we'll go through the whole background stuff, but can you just please explain to people what is a sexual empowerment
I absolutely can. So people think it's a sex coach, and it's not. It's not. Well, it is. I don't sit in a room and teach people how to have sex. I can. And I've been asked to, but I am more about being there as an empowerment coach. So everything to do with body confidence, inner confidence, outer confidence. Teach women and men, couples, younger adults, how to be confident in and out of the bedroom. So it's all about empowerment, which I think everybody's about these days.
Yeah,
You are.
especially here.
Yeah. So when I was talking to you, I thought, oh my god, that can tie in so well with what I do, because a lot of women and men are not confident because of their eating patterns and their body shape, and you are all about that, like body empowerment and stepping into your own and not dealing with all the fads. And I'm the absolute same. Not watching porn and relating yourself to that. Like, as a society, I think we constantly compare. So that's kind of what I'm here to do. I'm here to educate and not compare people.
Yeah, and it is so true what you're saying as well, like, because it is all connected, and if someone has like a problem with food or it's a problem with their body, like, it's pretty like understandable. They're not going to be confident in the bedroom and confident talking to, and not the opposite, like, but the sex that they're attracted to.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. How did
And in the same way as well, just to say to people, different foods interact with your libido differently. So the more carbs you have, the lower your libido is.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I
yeah.
didn't know
A lot more fruit, if things are fruit-based, veg-based, which it is more about like health, things like that. But I was so confused about why I had such a low libido for such a long time, and it's because my diet was so bad.
Oh, well, I know, like, if you're not like exercising and you're eating really shitty foods and stuff, then obviously like, but your whole health is gonna go down, right? So like people who are like overweight and people who who are smoking and have a very unhealthy diet, they are naturally gonna have a really low sex drive. But that's so interesting about the carbs. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah. It's so warm.
I know.
I look like I'm sweating. Not that we're complaining that we're in Bali, but
We just had to move into another room because we're being too loud.
which is just us.
Different background now.
Yeah, enjoy. At least you can see the blue sky.
For once finally back.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into this kind of coaching?
Okay, so I had an addiction. I was addicted to sex. It's like, hi, my name's John and I'm addicted to sex. I feel like I'm in a group.
Did you go to like a group like that?
Yeah.
And it's actually like in
like an AA meeting.
Oh my god.
So you literally say what your addiction is, and I was basically like a drug addict that was addicted to sex, but very unhealthily. I knew I had a problem because of how much I wanted it, and not with my partner. So
were you cheating?
No, we had an open relationship.
Oh, okay.
So my main reason of moving to Bali was to heal myself, was to go on this complete new journey and figure it out. So then, as I was figuring it out and coming into my own and thinking, shit, yeah, I am the problem, I need to go celibate. Like, the only way is like a drug addict taking the drugs away. So I completely stopped having sex, which was so hard for me because I was feeding I had a lot of voids in there that I wanted to fill, and sex was how I filled that void.
Yeah.
So completely stopped, started working with different healers. Jimmy, who you've been to, he was my favourite.
So sweet.
Yeah. And just for the likeness of this, Jimmy is a mind, body and soul healer. So he really worked down my whole entire body and where I'd held most tension and pain and emotion, because women especially, we trap our emotions inside our body. And that comes out in pain, muscle pain, back pain, bone, stress, anything. So the more I worked through that, the more Jimmy kind of said to me, you have a very healing tone about you, and sharing this story will help so many other people. So this is what triggered me onto this journey. And then I started training with a lady in Australia, a lady in Jersey, and they're sex coaches, and then we worked through it together, and I passed my cert, and here I am.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So you actually didn't become like a sex coach until you moved here?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you've been doing it for ages.
No, so I've sold sex toys for a long time.
Oh.
So I was always within the industry, always through sex parties, always was in that kind of field.
Yeah.
And then when I kind of realised I was the problem and feeding into this really negative narrative, once I flipped it and did a full 360, I thought, no, I need to help women that have been through trauma, sexual trauma, different relationships that have been so controlling, like mine, and help them have a more healthy relationship with sex.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But did you feel like when you were selling like sex toys and stuff like that, did you feel like your addiction got worse from that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like I was feeding my addiction through getting other people obsessed with it. So it was like a drug addict, but I wanted friends within the same field as me, and that's kind of why I fed into it. But not to put a bad light on sex parties or sex toys, they're absolutely amazing if you're using them for the right reason and not to feed an addiction. And I think because I struggled so much in my past relationships, which I never realised until I got out of them, how much they controlled me through sex. Yeah.
But how would someone know that they're addicted to sex?
Take it away and see what happens. I think I didn't know I was addicted to it until I stopped having sex. I didn't know that was my clutch. That was what I craved so badly. But once we chipped away at it, I wasn't craving the sex. I was craving intimacy and physical touch, and it was more on I have a lot of deep-rooted issues, or had a lot of deep-rooted issues from my past and my first ever sexual experience. So what I do when I work with clients, I make them tell me about their first ever sexual encounter. What was it? How did you feel? How were you handled? How were you touched? What did you feel afterwards? And we work from that, because being in an environment like that, whether you're younger, whether you're older, whatever the situation is, you will always subconsciously relate back to that first ever situation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as humans, we naturally jump back to that.
That's so interesting. So every time like you're having like sex now, you would still think about that?
Subconsciously. So I wouldn't be sat there thinking, oh my God, I'm thinking about that first time. But subconsciously, my body is programmed to naturally think about that first time.
Oh, that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of reprogramming my way of thinking, the way I act, the way I present myself to people, because I was very in my masculine. I had so many guards up, and I was so ready to attack every single time, and I took control of situations. I knew if I wanted sex with that person, I was going to have it, and I wouldn't stop until I got it.
Yeah.
But it was such a negative pattern, because all I was doing was harming myself.
Yeah. What do you feel like was the most helpful thing for yourself in this journey?
Working with different healers and really getting to the core of why I think the way I think, why I act the way I do, and really breaking my programming down, more to speak. I think I had a yoni cleanse.
A what?
A yoni cleanse.
What is that?
So your yoni is your lady parts.
Oh!
And when I say I had a yoni cleanse, it was intense.
What is it?
You sit over a steaming bowl of fruit and veg and God knows what's in it. It's a load of leaves. And you steam and cleanse out. You know, like you would out a facial cleanse.
Facial.
Yeah. But for your yoni.
Oh my God.
So I went on this whole journey because I'd read into this yoni cleanse and this woman that did it here, and she kind of had the same story as me, like sexually.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting in with her, and for about 2 hours I thought, I'm going to get thrush. Like, this is ridiculous.
Surely you
Yeah.
not so well after that.
But I swear to God, that was what changed me. That was what kind of opened my eyes to, this is such a sacred place, and I'm giving it away willy-nilly, the pun, that I'm allowing people to experience me, and I never understood the exchanging of energies. So when you're penetrating a person, you are exchanging energies with that person. So if they are depressed, if they are unhappy, if they are ecstatic, if they're happy, there could be lots of positives and negatives, you are literally opening yourself up to receive that. So I think when I went on this whole spiritual journey and what it kind of meant, it really made me think, shit, like I'm such an empathetic person as well. I do take on everybody else's problems, stressors.
Yeah.
So all I was doing was feeding the negative and growing it and growing it.
So do you think that certain people are more sensitive to that? Like you say, you're very empathetic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it depends on the person, but I also think it depends on your relationship that you have with sex. So if you have a really healthy one, you're in a really good relationship, but you might lack confidence in the bedroom, you might lack stamina. There'd be so many different things. If you have a really unhealthy relationship with sex, this is where you can rabbit hole, and there's so many different routes that could be the natural cause of it.
Oh my God, it's so interesting because now I'm thinking about like every single guy that
What's your sexual relationship like?
Is it actually good or is it actually bad? No, I think it is quite good. I do have a very high sex drive as well. But I know that for a while, like when I first came out of my relationship, I was using it as like a numbing thing. Like,
Yes.
I was just like anyone, like I just want to like go out there and just like sleep with any guy basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't sleep with any guy, but I was like, I just wanted to just numb the pain that I was feeling. And I know that wasn't very healthy at the time.
Yeah.
Probably made lots of good decisions.
Yeah, but you learn as you go.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this is it. This is something that I held a lot of shame around how I was. And it was only until I came to Bali that I let go of that shame and I stepped into my own power and thought, don't be ashamed of your past and what has made you grow as a person, because if I'd not gone through that, I probably wouldn't be doing this now. Yeah. And not to take this really deep, but I need to so you understand, I had a lot of sexual trauma and abuse as a younger age, so I used sex to feel like I was still in a controlled manner, because if I'm not controlled, who knows what I can do. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of, it's very psychologically deep if you really get into it. So I help a lot of women now as well that have had sexual trauma.
So if like having sex with people and like walking up to a guy or a girl, like that made you feel like you had control?
Yes.
It's so interesting because like how different people use different things to feel like that. Like I work with a lot of girls who binge eat. They use the food that they plan. Like even though the binge is uncontrolled, they plan their whole day around. I'm gonna binge at 4 o'clock. I'm gonna sit at home. I'm gonna eat all these foods, and that's like they have to go home and do it. And it's just like if they don't, they just feel like so out of control, and they just And
very relatable. Yeah, I do that with sex.
Yeah, and then I have other girls who struggle to stop tracking their food. And it's like, it always comes back to like traumas in the past and why, and the same thing with binging, like it all comes down to it, because they use like the tracking apps as a way of having some kind of form of control. Yeah. And it's like, well, what happens if you let go of that control?
Yes. Yeah, and it's that instant panic. I think as humans, we like to feel like we're secure in all aspects of life, and if we have control of something, it stops us spiralling into other bad habits. And I was very OCD in the way of, if I don't do that, something else will happen. And because I'd got into such a negative narrative, I just kept feeding it and feeding it and feeding it.
Do you think certain people are more likely to become addicted to sex?
I think it can completely depend on your past, on certain situations, on your relationships you've had with other people. But mine stems right back to my childhood. So I had a great, amazing upbringing and was given everything, but was given everything to the point where if I didn't get it, I had a very negative spin on it. So I worked hard for what I got, but if my eye's twitching and I've had lots of sleep, have you been sleeping? So I have daddy issues. I don't know if you've heard me say it before. I compare everybody to my dad, and I forever wanted my dad's approval because he was the alpha of the family. He looked after everybody. So I always wanted his approval. I always wanted to make him proud. But then in relationships, because I craved that so much, I fell into that bad habit again of always pleasing them and doing things for them. But I always made sure I was in control. So I think it completely depends on your environment and how you were raised. But this could go back to generations and generations ago. Have you heard of the generational trauma effect?
Yeah, I was reading something about racism.
Yeah.
And how someone who is a person of colour, how they could have, even though they've never experienced racism, their like great-great-grandmas have experienced racism.
And it could still affect you.
And how they react in certain situations because of that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. And even like women, like when they're pregnant, if they experience trauma, it goes to the child.
It does, yeah.
Absolutely. Like, the more you read about it, the more it's like...
You're constantly healing, and I think this is it. Coming to Bali would be such a spiritual place, and you'll know this from being here. You've been served the worst, bless you. We were all served the worst, and they say that Mother Bali, you either get chewed up and spat out, or you get chewed up and you thrive.
Okay, let's work on this topic now.
So I think it is just a constant healing journey, and people think, oh, well, I'll have this amount of healing and I'll be healed forever.
Yeah.
No, I could have a great day and then a really bad day. It's just all about riding those waves and emotions and relearning what you've already learned and you already know, but constantly putting it into practice, because a fear for me now is because I've been celibate for 6 months, I'm petrified to have sex again.
Oh my god, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I've got a month, I'm like a virgin again.
Yeah, I'm like, have I forgot how to do it? And I keep obviously working with my clients, and I'm like, how was it last night? What did you get up to? And I'm like, God, have I forgot? It's like a fear. But I think it's more of a fear because it's like taking an alcoholic back to a bar. Yeah. Can they have just one drink, or are they going to purge again? And that's how I kind of related to it. I purged. If I was sad, I purged. If I was upset, I purged. If I was happy, purged. It was like feeding a habit.
It's so interesting because all the addictions, they're exactly the same. Like the same thing. Most of my clients do struggle with binge eating, and they have the exact same thing. They're like, well, if I cut out chocolate now, if that's the they used to binge on, for example, they cut it out and they might not have it for like a month, and then I'm like, well, you need to introduce it into your life again, unless you never want to have it ever again. And they're so scared because they think that they're going to binge. And like, I can relate to it as well. Like, I used to binge it too and struggle with it, so it's so scary. But like, unless you want to be celibate for the rest of your life, you have to, right?
I don't. Really don't. Yeah, but it is about introducing it slowly, and I think it's making sure it's the right person. Well. Yeah, absolutely. I don't just want it to be.
Yeah, don't just go down standby and pick someone.
Just gonna write you. You're the one. Yeah, I want it to be in a safe environment, but I also don't want to put too much pressure on me and that other person.
No.
So I think whoever I go into it with, I don't know if I'll tell them that I was celibate. I don't know if they'll, unless it's a long-term partner that I've been with, they'll understand my situation. But I think it's all about your environment and creating that safe space and communication with one another of I always say have a safe word, but if you're just sleeping with Joe Bloggs down the street, you're not going to say, right, my safe word is this. I get that. But it's green. Elephant. That was the best. But it's making sure you have those boundaries, and that's one thing I never had.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like when you are doing this kind of stuff, like I know for myself when I do a lot of like, inner child work and stuff like that, I always get so hard on myself that I am not further along or that I'm still having these issues. And I think it just comes down to patience, really.
Absolutely.
Like being patient with yourself and being like loving and understanding and like
being kind to yourself. This is a massive thing. So what I also don't know if you'll do this being in the body coaching industry. Have you done the mirror exercise?
You just like standing in front of a mirror.
Stand in front of the mirror naked and say the things you love about yourself, and it can be very uncomfortable to start with, but that's a huge thing. Yeah, oh God, I cried every time doing it, but it's that admiration for yourself again and making yourself feel empowered and feel magical, because we are.
Yeah.
We're fucking amazing. Sorry, I just swore.
Swear as much as you want. Swear as much as you want.
We are amazing, and we need to believe that to live our best lives and to attract more of these amazing things that come to us. And I think it's such a cliche, isn't it, when people are like, oh, be grateful and you'll get more things back. But when you're in a downward spiral, it's very hard to feel good about yourself, to say these positive things and talk words of affirmation to yourself. But I'll forever walk into a room like, oh, babe, you look so good today. Like, when I saw you, oh my God, you're tan, I want you tan. But I'll never stand there in a mirror and go, oh my God, girl, you're looking fire today. But the inspiration that gives me, now that I've programmed myself to do it, every night after the shower, I'll stand there and I'll even dance in front of the mirror because it fills my soul. And I'm so big on people doing that and giving themselves words of affirmation, not just giving them to other people, because you're giving yourself away. Give that back to yourself and see how you actually feel.
Yeah, it's so beautiful once you kind of get past that, because sometimes it can be so difficult for someone who's been hating themselves for years, saying everything that they just hate about their bodies, and now their mind is kind of programmed to only look for those negative things.
Well, it's like imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. And
so you've got this little voice.
Yeah. Like for some of my clients, I like to name the voice.
Yeah,
I call it something random, like a mean girl person, because then they kind of. First of all, you can kind of look at it as like a cartoon character in your mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does she look like? Like, tell me what she looks like. Imagine this is an actual person, like, I don't know, Rebecca or something in your head. And that kind of takes away the seriousness a little bit. It's like, can Rebecca just fucking sit down? Like, stop fucking being mean.
Have a day off.
Yeah, have a day off. It's my time to shine. It's my time to like speak up. And I'm fucking amazing, because all of us women are honestly the sexiest thing in the whole world.
No one can do what we do.
No.
Men especially, like, this is another thing Jimmy taught me, and I've got polycystic ovaries, so that's something that really affected my sex drive, the controlling, the medication, all these different things, and the fear of me not really being a woman, because what if I can't have kids? What if these cysts stop me from being able to have great sex with my partner, because it depends on my mood swings and the pain threshold and things like that. And Jimmy genuinely made me believe that we can heal anything about our bodies. So once I started believing that and being grateful for my ovaries and grateful for my period, instead of not regretting it, resenting it, because they were so painful, I'd think, I don't want to have one this month, but then I wouldn't ovulate, and then that meant the cycle would continue. So I think we need to be so grateful to ourselves. We are the only ones that can produce a human. And we could grow a goddamn human in our body. It blows my mind when you think about how amazing we are. Our pain threshold compared to a male is incredible. And that's why we need to start taking back control and taking back that power and using it in such a positive light. And I think that's all about my coaching, is take back that control, take back that inner goddess that you so much are. And live her, like, just go for it. And whether it's in the bedroom or out of the bedroom, I think I'm such an advocate for I love when women walk into a room and you like turn around and you're a bit like, wow.
I know.
She's
That's what I feel with
today.
you. I'm already.
And then our energy bounds. I love that because when you're in a room and someone walks in and they're literally glowing and you're just like, what do you do? Where do you go? What do you do to yourself? I need to know everything. You get shivers. That's the stuff I live for.
Yeah.
Empowering women to be the best version of themselves.
Oh, it's the most rewarding thing ever.
It's
like
so good.
The other day I had a client text me that she had sex with the lights on for the first time ever. And I was like, yes! Fuck yes! And this is what it's all like. I'm not a sexual empowerment coach at all, but I'm like, I want to know everything. Like, tell me.
Detail after detail.
Yes! Tell me everything about your life. Because like we said before, like everything we do is connected.
Everything.
How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just know, like, from the past when I was so broken, like, I still have so many things that I still need to work on every single day.
Yeah.
But I've come so far.
Yeah.
And then just looking back at how I was, like, comparing myself to everyone else and how I would, like, carry myself in a room full of people, how I would interact with guys, like, so different. And this is because I worked on my own mindset. It started with, like, food, and then that translated into everything else. So now, once I healed the relationship with food, and I started healing the relationship with my body, and then that kind of, then I became more confident as a person, and I was able to connect with different people, and God, there's no way.
Like a spider diagram.
Yeah, 100%. And like, guys, if you are struggling with like these kind of issues, like, don't be, like, the first step, or the hardest step is just getting started. But then, like, don't be discouraged if you're not like, waking up the next day feeling amazing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Worked.
And this is it as well. I think being in the situations we're in as coaches, we have shit days too. Like really shit days.
Yeah.
Life is like waves. And I saw somebody say that it was like seasons. And you can't have the rain without having the sun.
Yeah.
Like, but it doesn't last forever. So you just have to live that season and try and understand what it's teaching you, because you're never done learning. You're never done learning, and different emotions and different situations are thrown at you to see how well you've learned your previous lessons and what new lessons you have to learn and how you can adapt to different situations. So don't for 1 second think, oh my God, they've got everything nailed out, they've figured out, they've got it all, they're good. We have shit days too. Major ones.
100%. And like something I do, I'm always busy. I'm always like very high energy. And
You
like,
are here, there, and everywhere. I'm exhausted watching.
So like for me, like for those of you who don't know, I've been really sick like for 2 weeks. I've basically done nothing, like just laid in bed. And a lot of my old like traumas and thoughts came back to me, and I was just like, I thought I've worked past these. And then I started judging myself for like, but you should be better now, like you should have worked on this so much, like maybe you weren't good enough, and but it's like I had a call with my coach yesterday, and she said, well, it's not a bad thing, it just shows that there's still things to work on, and that you are still repeating the same patterns of keeping yourself really busy so that you don't hear these thoughts. So you need to have just chill time. So like it's like a never-ending journey.
Like, angel and devil are always going to be there. It's how much you choose to listen to them, and what good things you take from one and what bad things you take from another, and make an absolute positive out of it. So I think we're always going to be learning, babe.
Yeah, always.
It's always a journey.
I think the biggest thing for people is, or at least even from my point of view, like, not be so judgmental towards, not like, well, if you're judging other people, you're judging yourself. Like, it comes from you judging yourself. That's why you're being so judgmental.
Absolutely.
So if you can be a little bit kinder to yourself, the world is going to be so much more beautiful. Because
they say everything you meet and every situation you're served is a mirror reflection of yourself. So talking about triggers, if somebody has a conversation with you and you feel really triggered and angry and you bite back, that is not what they've said. It's something that's within you that you need to work on. And that was a huge thing for me, realising what my triggers were and changing my environments and the people I was around because they fed my addiction. So then when I removed myself, I could spot my triggers a mile off, because it took me straight back to that environment, and I'd be ready to fight or flight. And I lived in fight or flight for such a long period that it's a natural state for me to be in. That's comfortable for me. I'm so used to it. So when things are very calm and people talk calmly to me, or they'll give me a different view on things, I think, holy shit, is this how people actually communicate? Because I'm not used to this.
It's not the beer.
Yeah, I'm used to it like and it's just not. And I think that's an amazing thing for me, of realising you don't have to constantly survive in fight or flight. Be a lot calmer and sit back, and it's okay to leave certain situations if you feel like you don't belong there anymore. And a big thing I'm still working on, and still with a lot of my clients, that you can change your environment any day, any minute. Right now, if I feel like this is not the environment for me, I'll be like, you know what, Elin, it's been really great, but I'm not giving my energy to it anymore. I want to do this on the podcast.
I'll be like, well, I'll just finish myself then.
Yeah, but if there's, you can change your motive any point of the day, and I think that's what we live in fear of. Well, I did that yesterday, so I can't really not do that today, and you get stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
And you can always change. I'm not the same person I was yesterday, nor am I the same person I was last week. I might be a different version tomorrow, and that is okay. You can forever choose to change, because that's your power. That's the power we have.
Yeah.
To constantly keep changing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Because I think that a lot of people get stuck in like, now I always have to be this person. Now I always have to be this happy person, or this hardworking person, or whatever value that you place on yourself.
Yeah.
And then if you don't feel like that, then you're like, oh, well, I'm not good enough then, because I'm not this person who I said I was always going to be. Absolutely. Or even like thinking in different things, like even just like something as simple as training. Like someone might come to a gym and say they hate CrossFit, and then they might try it and they might love it. Like it's okay to change your mind.
Yeah, and try it.
Yeah.
It's trial and error, and I think a lot of our lives are trial and error. So don't be scared to admit that, you know what, I don't like this anymore, and I do want to change.
Yeah,
don't be embarrassed to ask for help, because that's the first stage of empowerment. You've asked somebody else, and that is so amazing, and you should be so proud of yourself for doing that. That then the next rolling steps are just going to be better and better and better.
Yes, I love that. And I think a lot of people struggle to ask for help, because
God, I did for years.
Oh, well, same. But it's like kind of like once you ask for help, you kind of admitted that you have a problem.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, I'm actually broken, or I actually have something I need to work on, and I can't actually do it myself. Especially, I don't know if it's like a European thing or something, because I also come from like a family who's very my family's amazing. I haven't, but we all have traumas that happen, no matter how good your childhood is. And my family's very like hardworking, always like
pick yourself up, push yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. Like just keep going. Like that's fine. Just keep going. And like you don't need any help. Like I can do it myself. Like you're a strong woman. You can do it yourself, which is awesome. Yeah. But no, I never respected. Like it just. Like this, it is very hard to ask for help, and I notice a lot of people from Europe have the same issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know, maybe it is like a cultural thing.
Yeah, and I think as strong women as well, we both have looked at as very strong women, got the shit together, and if anything, I kind of was a bit more embarrassed, because I thought, I know I'm so inspiring to other people. I don't want them to think I've got shit going on that I'm not in control of. So once I kind of got over that hurdle of embarrassment, I realised how many people I actually was helping to step out of that comfort zone and say, you know what, I've not got my shit together today and I need help. Before I had such a negative relationship with myself. And if you have a negative relationship with yourself or what's going on, you will never be the best version to other people either. So that was a big thing for me in a relationship as well. I was very controlled in a relationship, very narcissistic, very gaslighty relationship, and I thrived in that toxicity of it. Whereas when I came away from it, I felt so lost and so, oh my God, like I don't know how to even just go out on my own, because everything was controlled. What time I came in, who I had sex with, who I went to dinner with. It was a very controlled environment, but I felt like I thrived in that environment. So when I was taken out of it, it's a very uncomfortable situation to live in for a long period of time until you start getting to grips with it.
Yeah, well, it's something new, right?
Yeah.
That's what people say in a really unhealthy relationship for so long, because it's what your brain is used to.
And then when you're treated good, you have no idea that that is actually how it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
So I self-sabotage a lot, and it's still something I'm working on. If something's going really good, I have massive separation anxieties, and my fear around them leaving me first, I won't allow, so I'll leave first. I'll create a whole freaking synopsis in my brain where I'm like, they've done this, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get out of there because they're going to leave me, and I've got abandonment issues. And that's a massive thing that comes from childhood traumas, because my dad worked away all the time.
Yeah.
So I constantly felt like he was leaving me, and I couldn't wait for the next time I was together with him. So I know that everything that's happened has come from something of my childhood, and that's very clear to me now.
Yeah. It is really interesting when you start going back to all those things, and you're like, oh, well, that was just like a tiny little thing that happened when I was like 5 years old. But if you still remember it as a 30-year-old, it was a massive trauma to that little child. And like, don't discredit that kind of stuff. Like, if you guys are listening and you're like, oh my god, I can so relate to, like, my dad was away, or like my brother left, or my cousin left, or my best friend left, or whatever it is, like, it could be anything. Or even just the fact, like, maybe your friend was really popular and they had so many other friends, and maybe that made you feel another
way around it, and I never realised this until the more I spoke about it. I had a lot of people die, pets, nanans, all in 1 year. And as a young child, for that to happen, and you don't really understand grieving and losing somebody and never being able to see them again, regardless whether it was my hamster, my dog, my horse, why were they all getting taken away from me when it was out of my control? So I think that triggers a lot of my anxiety about being left, because I had such a fresh brain when I was a young child, and losing them and seeing people around me so upset kind of triggered my, well, I'm not letting this one go, and I'm not letting this one go, and and I had a fear around people leaving me and never coming back. So I think that's why constantly seeing my dad go for months and months, I just thought, when am I next going to see him again? So I have that abandonment issue with friends, with relationships, with people around me now, that I'll leave before they can leave me.
Yeah, I can so relate to that. That's a lot of stories. I just need the time. I do really want to talk about what it is that you actually do. So, if someone comes to you, like, what is the most common issue that they
never
come to you
orgasmed.
for? Really?
Yes. They've never climaxed.
Female or male? Or both? Surely female.
Female. If it's a male, usually the issue is that they ejaculate too quick. So they're the most common issues that I deal with. If it's a couple, it's very much to do with their communication, and they're not on the same page at all. One will have a kink that they don't tell the other one about, and I open up those lines of communication for them. So with women that have not climaxed, for example, we go straight back to their first ever sexual encounter.
Yeah.
And usually it will have been a really shit one, a traumatic one that they didn't really want to be in. So it's usually a mental block. So we have to break down those blockages within their mind, because they live in their head during sex, so they cannot relax their full body. And it's such a different way of taking yourself away from your head and everything, because I've got ADHD.
Yeah.
So I think about a gazillion different things whilst I'm in that place, and it's a pleasurable place, and I think a lot of people are scared of pleasure. They don't think they deserve pleasure. And this concept, especially women, we concentrate on the man. Are they enjoying it? Are they having a good time? Do I look good? Am I in the right position? And we are so self-conscious about everything we're doing.
Yeah.
You literally have to break all that down.
I can understand that though, because I have a lot of girlfriends who have never climaxed.
It's crazy.
For me, I'm someone who probably climaxed quite easily.
Yeah, same. I'm like a butter.
Yeah,
I know what works.
But when I'm thinking back to like my first ever time having sex, like, it makes sense now, like, after listening to you, because it was like with my best friend, who was a guy, and it was very safe. Like, I felt so lives in my house. Like I felt I had no problems at all. Like it wasn't great, obviously. It was the first time, but it's still, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess because I am also like quite comfortable in my body as well. Like I don't, Oh, that's so...
Yeah, so many different reasons. I mean, they're not all the reasons. Some of them are just a lot of sexual trauma. So they go on the attack.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of younger women as well that are still in school ages that are just coming into sexual encounters with other people. And I think sex education is so bad.
Terrible.
When you think about when we were at school and they separated the women from the girls from the boys, and for me, in year 6, I started my period in year 3, so I was really young. I was just gone 9.
Yeah.
So I already knew about it all, and I wasn't embarrassed because my mum told me not to be, but no one else understood what it was. So when they were learning, and I already was having my period and laughing about it, that's disgusting, and it crucified me. And the fact that they split up the men to the women, and I just thought, how does this make sense? And then you go up into secondary school and everyone jokes about the fact that you're putting a condom on a banana, and there's just I so badly want to tap into that education system that gives younger adults the freedom of, it's a safe space to talk about it, and getting, I think, generations. I know that when I have children, I will create such a safe space. It'll be a topic of conversation when we're sat having this dinner. But I do not care where or when. I will buy you your first pack of condoms, and whether you like it or not, I will know.
Yeah.
Because it's such a taboo subject.
Absolutely.
I so want to break that stigma. That's my mission.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's so true, especially like with having a period. Like I will never forget having a period at school, because it was the worst week of every month. Because you'd have to hide it. Like I remember like walking out to where my jacket was, taking like the little tampon, like sticking it up in my sleeve. And just like, I'm just going to the bathroom, and like not wanting to tell anyone about it.
Awful.
Which is so awful. Like if you didn't like want to go swimming or something, like at school we had like PE, we went swimming. I was like, no, I can't swim, I'm feeling a little bit sick. Like, now, like, if I'm talking to a guy, no, I have a period, like, so you know, like, I'm feeling like really crampy today and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, if they feel uncomfortable, like, that's on them.
Yeah.
It's just 100%. A normal thing. Like, we need to talk about it more, and we need to make it normalized.
Yeah.
And especially, like, in the fitness industry, because how much our hormones are circulating all the time. And
this is a huge thing for me as well, which you'll know heavily. My weight. So when I'm told to track my weight every single day, I get anxiety, because I'm like, you don't know from one week to the next. I can jump up half a stone, and it crucifies me.
It's the weight fluctuations, but also how like your testosterone and estrogen levels are in your body is going to affect how well you can push yourself in the gym. Like the week before your period, you're more likely to get injured, you have less energy.
Really?
Yeah, this is not the week where you should be like going for like PBs and stuff. This is when you should taper down, like work more on your technique, maybe do an extra yoga session, go for a walk, just skip the heavy strength training days. I mean, everyone's different, everyone has different fluctuations. Some people feel it like crazy. Other people barely even, like I don't really feel any difference in my body. But I know, like, I have clients who, like, they get so hungry because your metabolism increases. And they get so cranky, and they get...
That's probably when I binge eat most. The week before I'm about to come on, I am not full. You can feed me carbs after carbs after carbs, and I am like, I need something else.
But your body needs it, because it's going through so freaking much that week.
But we're so harsh on ourselves as well. Because it's like, I should not be in this amount of food, and if someone sees me and... It's a trauma that we inflict on ourselves, really. Thinking it's bad.
Exactly. And if we could just listen to what our body's actually telling us, you'd be so much happier. And you'd be like, okay, this week I'm more hungry, I'm more tired, I'm just gonna maybe just do 2 sessions this week, go for a beach walk, eat a little bit of extra food because my body clearly needs it, so I'm starving all the time. And then if you could just enjoy that, you wouldn't have to binge eating, you wouldn't have the restrictions, you wouldn't have the guilt. Like, your body wants to be healthy. It wants to feel good, so it's gonna try and get you to do the things that makes you feel good. We're so in our heads that we don't listen.
God, crazy.
We're just
crazy in our heads.
Exactly. But I see we're coming up to the 45-minute mark.
Oh, 45 minutes!
I know. It's almost like this. I was like, yes, we're just keep talking and 5 minutes in and then bloop, all of a sudden 45 minutes.
I love that.
But with your, I just wanted to ask about the couple side of this coaching before we wrap up. But so, do they like come in as a couple?
Yes, usually it's one or the other that reaches out. Okay, so for example, I had a woman reach out to me a couple of weeks ago, and she has a certain kink in the bedroom and doesn't know how to get her partner to do that kink, but she feels like it's really putting a strain on her relationship.
Yeah.
She's forever pleasing him, and he's not fulfilling her, but he doesn't know. So it's opening that communication. So she's come and spoke to me, told me about her issues, and then said, I'm going to suggest it to him and act as if this is the first time we've ever spoke to you. So then that's how I've ended up coaching them both together.
Ah. Is that like, do you ever get couples who are like, no, I could never do that?
Oh, 1,000,000%, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So what is the solution here then? Is it like opening up a open relationship?
Yeah,
or?
you just you work around what their boundaries are, and you really set clear boundaries in the first couple of calls. I need to know what your absolute no's are and what your okay, yes, I'm open to it. So it's figuring out safety, and if you don't feel safe within your relationship and within the couple you're with, how will you ever feel safe when you're exploring new things? So it's really working on that narrative of being safe, completely trusting one another, and how much do you want this to work? How much do you want to please the other person? And if that's not at all, then we work on relationship skills and how we can make that better. And I think one thing that people think, oh, I'm gonna have sex coaching and sex is gonna be amazing and it's gonna be this and that. Sometimes people learn throughout the process that they shouldn't be together, and that's okay. But because it gives them that realization and that safe space to be able to communicate with their partner and thinking, you know what, we have different likes, dislikes. I'm not comfortable with you doing it, so go off and enjoy that on your own. And it's breaking down those barriers massively between couples, because I think naturally we protect ourselves and feel like we don't want to be embarrassed. So we suppress a lot of things. So it's working through a lot of those cycles of breaking down those barriers, really.
Yeah.
And then having amazing sex after that.
Yeah. Also, like letting go of things that doesn't serve you anymore, like something that person might have been the right person for you for the first 10 years.
This is it. This is a huge thing that as a generation we are becoming so much more aware of what we deserve and what we desire, that because I think we all live in this fairy tale world of the 2 dogs and the picket fence and the perfect husband and the 2 children, we've been programmed to think that that is perfect and that's happiness, and it's so not. We're all so different in ourselves. You like fitness, I like sex. Like we're so different. Do you know what I mean? There's different things that we zone in on. So why should all our relationships look the same as well? And I've been in a polyamorous relationship, so I've done the whole cycle of being monogamous, being polyamorous, and being in a family rather than being in the one-on-one relationship. And I had a negative spin on it and a positive spin on it. The first one, very positive, amazing, loved it. The second one, it was very controlled, so it wasn't really a freedom of relationship. So when people come to me and they want to start having sex with people on the outside, but they don't want them to interfere in their current relationship, there's so many different ways that we can navigate that and work through it, because as long as you have that open trust with each other, you know you're always safe. They're not going to go anywhere. They don't want to go anywhere, and it's breaking down as of why. Why do you want to do this? And not being embarrassed to say it. So, there's loads of different reasons. No one is the same. And I think that's the most exciting thing about my job and what I do, that I never know who's going to come in and what their issues might be or what their desires are. And I revel in that. I just think, I've never heard of this one before. I'm like, right. And then speak to all my gurus, and I'm like, God, do I do this and do we do this? And I mean, I'm going to share one because it's fantastic, and I know that they'll never watch this, so we'll say. She really wanted her partner to be a fantasy character, so she wanted him to wear wings during sex.
Oh.
Like, she fantasised about him being a fairy.
Interesting.
Yeah. And she didn't dare tell him.
Yeah.
But she was reading all these fantasy books and things like this and being so in her head about what love is now, that when she was just having your bog standard sex with him, she was like, this is not love, this is not the love I want.
Wow.
Anyway, he's wearing wings now during sex and they're having the best time.
He's wearing wings. Wow.
Yeah. He was gutted that she didn't tell him.
Yeah, of course. Like, I would be as well.
It was like, they laughed about it for a good half an hour on the call and we had such an open discussion about it. And then he was like, order me some wings then, babe. Like, let's do it. And I was like, I love this. And trust me, it's not that easy sometimes, but that was just one that he was so open to pleasing her. And I think as women as well, we constantly suppress our own desires because we want to fulfill theirs. Whereas if she'd have just opened up and had that conversation.
Oh my gosh. That is absolutely amazing. Wings. I have never heard that before. I mean, if you're always reading those are kind of...
I mean, Halloween's the best time for them.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, that's not even have to be embarrassed. But yeah, come on, there you go, babe.
Put your wings on.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Well, thank you so much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure. I feel like we could just talk forever about this stuff. It's so interesting.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime.
Love to.
Anytime. Is there anything you want to plug? Like you have your own podcast as well?
I do. So I have my podcast where I just chat absolute shit and just hope that somebody finds it inspiring.
Oh, I loved it. Like I normally never listen to podcasts at the gym. I have to music, and I listened to the whole thing. And I was like, you just can't stop. I need to where's the next episode?
Thank you, Elin. Yeah, so I have a podcast which is the Sexuality. My Instagram is where I plug a lot of my stuff, so that's Jordan_Annabel.
I will link to that.
Yeah, and I'm going to start doing webinars. That's going to be my next big thing, because I was very much into having like open conversations and women's circles and things like that and doing that, but I think the best way of me interacting with so many different people is by doing a webinar.
Totally.
And it will be completely confidential, so you can get the link and no one knows you're on that call, no one knows that you are part of it. You can change your name and you can just listen or you can interact. So that's a huge thing that I'm working on at the minute, my educational side.
That's super exciting. Well, if that comes out, if you're done with that before this comes out, send me the link and I'll add it to the podcast.
I will, thank you.
Oh, so exciting. Guys, if you like this episode, please make sure you tag Jordan, tag myself, tag Women's Fitness Academy Australia. Like, we absolutely love when you share it on your stories, like we can connect and say thank you and hear what you thought about the episode. So please remember to do that. And yeah, thank you so much for listening and have an awesome day.
Thank you.